It took all about 5 minutes into the ride home for Madison to comprehend Brian's fury had a multitude of levels she'd have to contend with. On one level, he spoke to her with a sugar-coated level of politeness which irritated her. The second level could only be seen in the expressive eyes that told her they'd have much to discuss later. She knew he'd be irritated with her over their actions in hell, but the anger radiating from him took her by surprise. He had a thing or two to learn if he thought she'd always wait for him to be there to hold her hand. Throughout her entire adult life, she'd managed to do just fine without the help of a sexy guardian angel. And she did just fine while he'd got himself locked up for being in the wrong place at the wrong time. The other thing Madison noticed, which did not sit well with her, was the hero worship in Abigail's eyes. The young, perky woman appeared not to notice the stiffness of Brian's shoulders, or how his top lip thinned each time he spoke. Madison found it rather cute but wouldn't dream of telling him so. Abigail chattered on about what had transpired between the times Brian left her at the hospital and when she saw him again at the police station. Madison experienced a twinge of jealousy when he seemed to genuinely enjoy Abigail's company while he couldn't seem to look at Madison without scowling. Once they arrived home, Madison stormed out of the truck and marched toward the front door where Uriel waited.
"Is everything all right?"
he asked. "Ask the caveman." Madison replied and then marched in the house and slammed the door. Instead of calming down, her anger grew. He smiled at Abigail while looked at her with annoyance. Did Abigail spend the night sitting with him while he healed from being shot? No. Madison did. Of course, he did get shot while protecting Madison. Well, perhaps he saw Madison as someone to protect, and not anything more. That thought brought her to an abrupt start. Did Brian see her as she saw him? When she looked at him, she saw forever. Oh, dear God. What if when he saw her, he saw a ward or a lost soul in need of his strong arms to protect her? She tried to think back and analyze if she'd misread signals. In the cafe, he'd protected her. Did he do it because he cared for her, or because he had an instinct to protect the people around him? Even as her mother drew out the evil slugs within his body, he kept her from hurting on his behalf. In the end, Madison couldn't think of one instance where he acted as if he wanted to kiss her instead of shield her from danger. How could she build up a fantasy of something which didn't exist? The only way to find out what went on in his mind would be to ask him, but to do so just seemed bold. Her experience with men could be written on the tip of a sewing needle. Her life had been spent in seclusion because of her nighttime adventures often left her wounded or devastated. She'd always thought it unfair to involve a man in her type of life. The one time she'd tried to have sex had been a disaster and up until recently had never given in another thought. When she looked at Brian, she had thoughts she'd never had before. Her libido came alive and whispered the siren's song in her ear. She couldn't sit there and torture herself waiting for an answer. Madison turned back toward the foyer and opened the front door. Any question she had slipped her mind at the image of Abigail wrapped in Brian's arms. Her heart dropped into her stomach as the shock worked its way throughout her system. The visual before her answered her question with ease, though in all honesty, she would have preferred a simple yes or no. They both turned toward her. Abigail gasped and had the decency to blush. An irrational urge to gouge the other woman's eyes out erupted, and she had to fight hard to contain it. What a ridiculous fool she was. Of course, he wants to protect her. It's his job. Madison turned around and walked into the kitchen. Sometimes all of life's ailments could be soothed with a cup of tea. She had to open 3 cupboards before she found the tin of Earl Grey someone hid. Each door made a loud thud as she slammed it closed. In the small nook off to the side of the kitchen, Gabriel, Raphael, and Michael looked at her with confusion written on each of their faces. They were angels. They could figure it out. For good measure, she scowled at them too. Though her mind conjured up the image of a 3-year-old throwing a temper tantrum, it didn't soothe her wounded pride any. Damn it, for the first time in her life, she'd met a man who interested her. At 30 years old, that said something. Of course, she'd fall for a guardian angel that saw her as someone in desperate need of protection. She put the tea kettle on to boil and stared at it. Her mother once told her a watched pot never boiled. Well, this one would, or it'd take its first flying lesson. She blinked hard to quell the tears that threatened to fill her eyes. She would not cry over something entirely in her mind. So, she misread his thoughts. It happened. Now she knew better and could move on. Oh, but she really liked him. It wasn't fair. Oh, that's mature. The whistle of the kettle startled her, and it continued its shrill sound until she took it off the stove. This day did not turn out like she planned. How could she look at him in the future and not think of the childish crush she had on him? Did he know? Did he pity her? No, she couldn't imagine him being that way. He just didn't have it in him. His purity, his innocence drew her to him like a moth to a flame. Her thoughts then went to Abigail. What if they'd already had connection and Madison had come between them? The idea of stealing another woman's man sat like a load of bricks in her stomach. She didn't want to like the other woman, but she didn't want to go out of her way to make her miserable either. Oh, why couldn't things just be simple? She liked simple.
So, 'cause
Want to tell me why you are staring at the kettle as if it disgusted you?
Kennedy said. Madison hadn't heard her enter the room. It whistled. She looked around and noticed everyone else had left the room.
It's supposed to. Most people like to know when the water is boiling.
It didn't have to do it so loudly, Madison said, and knew she sounded childish.
Spill it.
Kennedy said. The phrase almost brought a smile to her face. Her mother Kennedy and she used it all the time. Brian and Abigail were locked in an embrace on the front stoop.
What?
I don't know what came over me. It's not like I have a claim to him.
Wuss.
The anger brimming just below the surface exploded right then and there. Excuse me?
So, some little chick had her arms on your man. Did you bother to let her know he was spoken for?
I don't own him. I'm not his wife, I'm not his girlfriend. I'm just someone he likes to protect.
What the hell are you talking about?
Kennedy asked with her mouth open and her eyebrows drawn together. He's not mine, and I don't own him. She met him first. Kennedy took the kettle from Madison's hand and grabbed another cup. To irritate Madison further, Kennedy didn't even have to search for anything as she pulled out the sugar for the tea. How did she know where everything went in Madison's kitchen? Kennedy made both cups and passed one to Madison.
You came up with that load of bullshit all on your own, did you?
Kennedy asked. Madison didn't appreciate Kennedy belittling her emotions and replied, "It's all true. There's no need to call it bullshit."
I just always thought you had more backbone than this. Did it ever occur to you the embrace could have been an innocent hug? Didn't he save her from a big bad madman who had beat the hell out of her? I vaguely remember my cousin, who was normally sane, telling me about a dream she had where some woman got her head bashed into a brick wall by a demon named Mastema. Now I don't know about you, but I'd be pretty damn grateful to the man who took care of me and made sure I got medical attention for my injuries.
He never told me he wanted to get to know me beyond the woman who got him shot, and a sword drawn on him, and whose car he hid at the gym.
Maddie, you've known him for 3 days. Do you think he has any idea what hit him? Can you honestly say you have any idea what you are going through? You are running scared after 3 days.
Madison sat down at the island and put her forehead to the counter. I like him, she whispered.
Don't tell me. Tell him.
I can't. I couldn't bear the thought of him looking at me with pity in his eyes as he tells me he has feelings for someone else.
Sweetie, he glows when you bat those eyelashes his way. Now, I may not know diddly about angel biology, but I'm pretty damn sure glowing is not something one does when they are in the presence of someone they just want to protect.
But, Madison began, but words failed her. She had no argument for him glowing. So what do I do?
Finish your tea and go apologize to the Three Stooges for making them think you were mad at them. Then you need to check on Tiffany, but since you didn't ask, I'll tell you anyway. There's no change in her status, and we're growing concerned. The one and only time she spoke was to scream no hospital. You have the soothing touch we don't.
As if she didn't already have a heavy weight on her heart, she forgot about poor Tiffany. Madison ranked high as failure of the year. Oh no. Let me go check on her.
I think Abigail is in there now, so you may want to wait a bit in your current state of mind. It wouldn't do any good to get your butt kicked by one assault victim in front of the second.
You think she'd kick my butt? Madison asked.
Nah, you'd wipe up the floor with her, but I'm ashamed of you for thinking about it.
Kennedy smirked before she took a sip of the tea.